Hi, and welcome to the dinner agenda. This is Bo.
And this is CeeLo. It literally has a countdown there for
I
you now.
you know what? I was I was looking at the little bubble that pops up that's like it says something and I was trying to read it and then I was like, "Oh shit, the countdown's on."
Oh,
Yeah.
oh. It's funny because I
Listen.
used to feel like all important because I got to press the record button and then
Yeah,
I would count you in. I'd be like 3, 2, and then I would just do this.
that's
Like,
right. That's right. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Now it's
you
all
know,
done for
it's
you.
automatic.
So you
Just
don't feel as
counts.
important. I can
I
understand
don't
that.
feel as
Yeah,
important.
yeah. Do we
Not
even need
needed.
you on this I'm just kidding.
Of course you do. I have
Of
funny
course.
stories.
Of course you do. Of course you do. So how are you doing, CeeLo?
Um, busy. It's been a little bit busy, although the weekend was pretty chill. Because,
Oh,
Mel and Buddy were in the beautiful downtown bustling, area of Pembroke for the weekend for a hockey tournament, and so it
okay.
was just Iz and I here all weekend,
Mhm.
and so I just kinda put it around, my usual, and, walked my doggy, and so the weekend was chill, but work's been super busy, so,
Yeah, same.
yeah, and you're, like,
Yeah,
avoiding me these days, you've
I'm
been
not.
so busy.
I'm not
You're
avoiding
avoiding
you.
me.
I'm not, I promise you.
Mm.
I don't know what the hell is going on, CeeLo, but so I think part of it has to do with the season, that we're
Yeah.
in because so one of my favorite things to do is go to Christmas markets,
Yes.
fall markets and Christmas markets. I just adore doing that. Well, they're all popping up now, right? So
Yeah.
I've got plans to do that. Then I've had 2 concerts that had been pre-booked a while
Yeah.
back that happened to just be back to back, like, you know what I mean? Like, in the same
Yeah.
week. And then work has been flipping insane.
Insane.
Yeah, we have our new fiscal year starting, and so everything's kicking off, and it's just been
Yeah.
really insanely busy getting everything kind of set up and started. So I've just been really busy. And then, just trying to take care of the house too, So it's like you gotta go,
Yeah.
and the laundry and all that other stuff that kind of goes along with, adulting. So,
Yeah.
but I'm not
Adulting
ignoring you.
or adulting, one or the other.
Oh,
I think it's adulting.
adulting?
I don't think it's I can't even say it. Adulting. I don't think it's adulting, I think it's
Oh my god.
adulting.
Oh my god. Adulting.
You're welcome.
Wow. You know
Now
what?
you
I
won't make
think
that mistake.
I need a vacation. I need a vacation. I really need that was great.
Yes.
Yeah. Thanks for correcting me, you filthy frickin' tart.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. Okay, so what's going on with you?
Well, I wanted to give I know everyone's really interested in my bra updates, so
Yeah,
there's
I
that.
am. Yeah, there is that. I'm sure all those
So
pervs that are listening also are interested in your bra update.
I
So,
bought the 2 from NYX, the
mhm,
Everyday one, I think it's called Everyday something, and then the
mhm,
Revolution V-neck or something.
mhm.
And the Everyday one is the one I had said before, I'm like, "Love it. Perfect, perfect bra." The Revolution one, I didn't feel had enough fabric
Okay,
to cover and suck it all in.
okay.
But I've been wearing it, I'm kinda getting used to it because it's a little bit different style from my current bra. Anyways, this week I pulled out my old Pennington's bra,
Mhm.
my
Yeah.
my comfy, my go-to. I used to wear it all the time. I hadn't worn it
Mhm,
in a while. I'm
mhm.
like, "Damn, this is not as comfy as I recall." So, I
Mm.
think that's saying something for my next bras being far more comfortable.
So, are they supportive enough to actually wear to work and stuff? Or are
Yeah,
they just around the house? Really?
yeah.
Well, you just may have converted me into purchasing a shit ton of Knix bras.
Well,
Mhm.
buy that I'll send you
Yeah,
the everyday one. Buy
yeah,
that one and see if you like
I
it,
will.
but,
Okay.
yeah, I and they've been through the wash a few times, like, so far so good, man.
Okay, okay, great. That's good.
There's
Okay.
my,
You're
CeeLo's tip for the week. And
yay.
then the
Yes.
other thing I had on my little list here, so last week we had, What the Fraud episode,
Yeah, yeah.
and we did at some point talk about deep fake videos. And literally a few
Right.
days after our episode released, I saw a CTV news report. Very disturbing headline. Deep fake videos appear to target Canadian immigrants
Oh.
for thousands of dollars.
Oh gosh.
So, artificially generated videos of a Toronto-based lawyer
Yeah.
asking for money appear to be just one way that some try to exploit newcomers
Oh,
to Canada at a
shit.
time when, you're confused about what the new immigration rules are, etcetera, and this is, like, I guess, a lawyer that's in Toronto that's got some credibility and people recognize him, and he appears in these videos, and it's fleecing, immigrants out of money. How
Oh my
crazy is that,
god.
right?
Yeah, I know, see, though, that's just honestly, the world we live in is just so fucked up sometimes, you know?
Yeah,
It
100%.
like, the way that people get targeted, and the
Yeah.
second that someone is vulnerable, these freaking, like, evil people come out of the woodwork, you know? Like, they just
Mhm.
it's disheartening.
It's
Mhm.
disheartening to think that somebody's sitting around in their basement thinking about what
Yeah.
can they pull off to
Yeah.
fleece money out of
Yeah.
somebody. Like,
Yeah.
that's ridiculous.
But it is ridiculous, and I say things like, "Well, what is this world coming to?" and blah, blah, blah. But then if you remember what I had said about the first cases of fraud happening in, like, 300 BC, it's
Yeah.
flipping humankind. It's like human beings that are the assholes. Like, we're like a shitty ass species.
Yes.
We really are a shitty ass
Not all of
species.
us, just some of
No,
us.
humans in general, I think
Yeah.
are destructive. Like, with ourselves,
Yes.
with each other, with the world, with the planet, with all, you know what I mean? I think that that is just our nature. We take
Yeah.
over, we, empower ourselves and take over everything. So, you can see that with how we've almost made some animals extinct, and, what we're doing with the
Yeah.
climate and blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, we're a destructive,
Money, power, control.
yeah,
Those if that's what's motivating you, you're one of the bad people we're talking about today.
yeah, we are talking
You
about
know
you,
what
and
I'm saying?
don't listen to us. Go away.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
So,
and then the other thing that I was going to, chat with you about is because Mel wasn't here all weekend,
no.
it was basically a free weekend to watch
Oh,
whatever I wanted.
what did you watch? Real Housewives of New Jersey? No, I'm kidding.
I did not. I could not. I could
Oh,
not.
you
I
could, you
could
could. I cannot wait to have you over so that you can at least
Okay.
watch the first episode. Okay, but go on.
Okay, we'll
What did
watch
you
one episode.
what did you watch?
So, a few of the peeps at work keep
Mhm.
talking about the show Love Is Blind.
Okay.
Have you seen that?
I
So,
think
it's
I
like an
watched 1 or 2
experiment show.
episodes. Yeah, okay.
There's like 10 people or something, 10 boys, 10 girls. It's very straight, but that's besides the point.
It's
And
straight.
they're on like separate sides of this house, the girls'
Mhm.
side and the boys' side. And then there's these pods that are connected through a wall, but you can't see through.
Okay.
So you go on dates in all these little pods with multiple people
Oh,
and you chit chat
but you
about,
can't
and
see
the
each other.
idea is no, you can't see each other. You can't
Okay,
see anything.
okay.
But the idea is you chat through like the normal date stuff and it's like power dating because they have like a couple weeks to get in as many dates and chats as they can. And then at the end of it, they have to propose to somebody.
Like, proposed marriage.
Propose marriage.
Okay, alright, and?
Okay.
Mm,
So the experiment part of it, I was like, that's kind of curious. And then these people, because it's like power dating, you kind of cover off in these little pods over this couple of weeks so much of about you, about the other person, about what you want out of life. These are supposed to be all people who want to and are ready to get married, right? It's not people
okay.
there just for fun.
Okay.
Hence the proposal at the end. And so we're in the pod, I propose, and then like the next day we meet face to face for the first time.
Oh god, CeeLo.
Right? Right? It's a little bit of a car crash. A
Oh
little
my
bit.
god, I think I might have to watch this.
You
What?
do I think you do need to watch it. Anyways, let's just say I made it through to season 2. I
Okay,
told you it
okay.
was a bit of a chill weekend, okay?
Yeah, yeah.
I made it through to season 2, and towards the end, they bring all the couples back for, like, a reunion, like, who said yes at the altar, because then there's this whole, like, they go on this vacation together, and then they're back in their regular lives together, and then at the end, it's like they're up at the altar, and they have to say yes or no, they will actually get married. and some of them say yes, and some of them are like, "Yeah, no."
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
So that's the whole season, and then at the end, there's this reunion, so they bring everyone back together to chat just like you would see on other reality shows like
Yeah.
Survivor or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there's this one guy in season 2 who is such a dick. Like,
Oh,
oh my god, he's horrible.
why?
He's well, like, in the very first dates, he was like, "Do you like working out?
Oh, fuck off.
Would I be able to put you on my shoulders?" Like, saying stuff like that,
Oh,
right? The whole
okay.
idea of Love is Blind is that what the person physically looks like, does it actually matter or not? Anyway,
Got it. Okay.
so he's just like a total dick,
Okay.
and anyways, he proposed to this woman,
Mhm.
and she said yes. They got together, and he was just dicky through the whole thing, like, he was just an ass, but they went to the altar, and she said no, and I think that hurt
Oh,
his
ego?
feelings, although I don't
Yeah.
know if he would have said yes anyway.
Okay.
In in the episode, he's going on and on. He's talking about how everyone feels this way, everyone did it this way, and all of the cast of the show were like, "No, we didn't. No, we don't feel like that. No, we didn't say that." And he's just being his usual assholery.
Mhm.
And then at some point, he turns around, he's like, "Okay, fine. I'm the villain and she's the princess. I get it. I'm the villain." So he's turned and everyone's like, "No, that's not what we're no, no, no." And like catering to him a little bit at some point. And I'm like, I know the signs now.
Of?
He is a true
Ah,
narcissist,
narcissist, yes. And
right?
maybe what he was doing was gaslighting those people. No, I don't think that was
Yeah.
gaslighting. That was just manipulation. He was
He
just
was
trying to look like
totally
the victim so that they'd shut the fuck up.
he turned it around and he
Yeah,
was like,
yeah.
"No, I'm the victim in all of this. Like, I'm you guys are calling me the villain." And he's like saying it to try and get them to feel badly for him. And I'm like, "You are an asshole." Anyways, I thought it was fun. So I feel like I've learned something chatting with you about this. And
Yeah.
certainly the chats that we've had on the pod about
Yep,
narcissism and
yep.
narcissistic kind of traits and behaviors, so
Mhm,
I was
mhm.
like, "Oh, I'm getting
Uh,
smarter talking to you
y
both."
yeah, you definitely are getting, like, more, I guess, knowledgeable about what to look for, but that's so funny that you were, like, able
Mhm.
to kind of pick that up. I think that's kind of awesome.
Yeah,
That's good, that's good.
100%,
Well,
yeah.
that kind of leads a little bit, CeeLo, into what we were actually gonna talk about tonight, because we had on the agenda, enabling and codependency. And
Okay.
those are kind of things that actually go, quite hand in hand with narcissism. So that's funny that you mentioned this story because it's, like, very appropriate for the topic for
Yeah,
tonight. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So go,
Um,
but
I was gonna say, I think of, like, codependency, so I'm curious to chat more about this.
yeah,
As, like, those high school dating those early relationship scenarios where everything revolves around, like, you're completely in a codependent relationship because you have no sense of self when you're early
yeah,
on in the dating time.
yeah,
That's
for
how
sure.
I'm thinking of codependency, but I know you're gonna school me.
Well, I mean, it's not like I'm a complete expert on codependency, you know what I mean? But
This is
I
not a
do.
medical podcast.
It's not a medical podcast. No, but it's definitely a characteristic that tends to come along. Narcissists, like people who have narcissistic personality disorder,
Yeah,
or people who have very, very high narcissistic traits, they tend to gravitate towards people who are codependent because, and we'll get into it a little bit later, but codependent people are very people pleasing, low
I was gonna
self
say,
esteem people. And so they are the prime, thing that a narcissist can have
chickens.
because that all they do is feed that narcissist, right? So, but there's a lot of, like, not so great things that, come along with being a codependent person. Um, and, it happens for a reason. So we should probably start chatting about it. But why don't
Yeah,
we start with enabling first? Do you want to do that?
okay. Yeah, let's talk about it.
Okay. So, what do you think is the difference between enabling and being supportive?
Well, I think supportive is supposed to be like lifting someone up and helping them achieve something
Mhm.
or helping them get better at something. Whereas enabling, I think of as a bad thing, and you're helping them do something that's detrimental in some way,
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty bang
right?
on. Yeah, that's pretty
Hmm.
bang on. Good for you.
Look,
So,
I'm so smart.
you are a very smart girl. The main difference, between enabling and supporting, so, like, when we talk about the definition, so you kind of had it bang on, but enabling involves basically taking over and preventing consequences for negative behavior or choices. So,
Right.
the enabler actually encourages in a roundabout way negative behavior, whereas supporting actually means that you're helping someone do something or achieve something that they could do themselves,
Mhm.
or like you said, lifting them up, being a an ear for somebody that needs it. But
Yeah.
enabling itself is not support, but people who do enable feel that they are supporting, and that's what the difference is, right? Like
I think
they
it would be a hard line sometimes, right? When you don't realize like that. I think for sure, especially if you think of someone who's maybe in that codependent category,
yeah.
maybe doesn't have a lot of self-esteem themselves,
Mhm.
and they're thinking they're being helpful. Like, I don't think for the most part those enablers are out there in a with a destructive
Mhm.
mindset, right, going into it. I think for
No.
the most part they're thinking, "This is my way of helping," and they don't realize. I've watched it, remember that show Intervention?
Yeah.
Oh, I fucking love that show. I wonder if
Yeah.
that's still on. I used
I
to watch
don't
that
know, but
all the time.
I remember, yeah, I used to watch that all the time too. I found that very fascinating, but they dealt,
Yeah.
is that what you were gonna say? Like, they deal a lot with enablers because
Yeah, because
yeah,
the show was called
yeah,
Intervention. It was mostly centered around addicts,
yeah,
alcohol and drugs, and they're typically family members, and those family members were, really trying to help their loved one battle this
mhm,
disease
mhm,
and not not realizing that their way of helping was actually continuing to enable the poor behavior. Like, "Oh my
yeah,
gosh, Bo really needs a drink. Bo doesn't have any money for vodka.
yeah.
So, I feel badly that she doesn't have the money, so I'm gonna give her the money to go get the vodka." Hello? No, that's enabling.
Yeah, but I think, and it's funny that you bring that up because what do you what do you do, right? Like, if this was your family member or your child, like, put it into that perspective. No, I know. Like, see, look, so
That's what makes
what
it hard.
let me ask your opinion on this, okay? So, and I fully admit that this is enabling behavior for sure. But sometimes when you see people asking for money, right? Like
Yep.
panhandling, and if there are occasions where, depending on the situation, I may give them some money, I may not, it just depends, right? Um, but I've heard people say to me, you shouldn't do that because they're just going to take that money and buy alcohol or buy drugs, right? They're not
Right.
going to use it to feed themselves or buy clothes or something warm or whatever. And
Yep.
I would say, I get it, but the thing is, they're not somebody who's looking for help to stop, or, they are so down and out. And if they are an alcoholic or a drug addict or whatever, in my head, I'm thinking, well, it's probably going to feel worse for them to be detoxing than it would be for them to be. I know, CeeLo, I know. That's why I said I
You
know
know
it's enabling
what?
behavior, but
I know you
sometimes,
feel badly passing by someone who's maybe panhandling, and you're like, "No, sorry." But you know what? Take the toonies and loonies, and at the end of the year, donate them towards an addiction center.
yeah,
Donate them towards CAMH.
that's a
Um,
great idea.
I I
Yeah.
don't ever give money to someone who's panhandling, ever, ever.
Ever. So what I did start to do, because I get that it is enabling them, but what I did actually start to do is when I would see somebody, I'd go over to the nearest Tim Hortons and I'd
Oh, yeah.
buy a Tim Hortons gift card, and then I'd go back and I would give them the gift card, and that
Absolutely.
way there was food or
Yeah,
drink or like coffee, like a beverage that they
yeah.
could buy that's
Go
not
get some
alcoholic.
food. I've
And
I've brought takeaway from a
yeah,
restaurant
yeah,
and, bought an extra sandwich or something and passed that to the guy who held the door open for me on my way in, no
that's
problem.
nice.
The
Yeah,
guy who sits outside my Shoppers with the dog,
yeah,
whenever I go into Shoppers and he's there, I come out with a bag of food or a bag of treats.
yeah,
You know what I mean? For the dog.
yeah,
Like, for
yeah,
stuff like that, I mean, I'm very, um, aware that, there's a lot of
mhm,
people who, I think, like, down on their luck or whatever and are really trying to turn things around, and
mhm, mhm,
and I'm not opposed to helping someone in need. I just choose to do it in the most impactful way, or the way that I think is gonna be best for
mhm.
them. And
That's,
so, yeah,
smart. Yeah.
that makes
No,
sense.
no. Yeah, no, it does. It makes a lot of sense, and I think it's very smart. It takes me a bit to get there for sure. Like, take breaking that habit of, "Okay, fine, I'll just give you $5," or,
Aw,
whatever.
aw. I can totally see. Oh, oh, this guy just, I just gonna
"CeeLo,
give him my
you don't
money.
need to
I can
tell."
totally see you. Every
Oh,
red light.
God.
But do you drive
No.
downtown very often? Yeah,
Okay,
okay.
I
So I
no, no,
would
no,
be
no,
broke
no.
at the end of the year,
No, I
you know what
do.
I'm saying?
No, no, no. I don't do it every time, and I'm gonna tell you something. So, little off topic here, but, um,
That's how
so
we
there
roll.
there are yeah, like, so in the downtown city, right, in the downtown core, you get a lot of panhandlers or you get a lot of homeless people that you can tell are homeless, and they are,
Right.
so there's no question about that. In the suburbs, though, we have panhandlers that are on, at the lights that when you're driving the car and you hit an intersection with the lights.
You know, when you're driving the car and you hit the red light, the
See this?
intersection? Yeah, I see that.
Yeah. So
Mm.
they're at the lights, right? And they're
Yeah,
panhandling and they have a sign that says, I don't know, something I need to feed my children or, da da da. I never, ever, ever, ever give to those guys because I have actually seen them, especially around here. I was out early one morning and I saw all of the ones that are in this vicinity. They were
yeah,
all huddled together in this one corner, right,
yeah.
of the street, doing their talk, and then they all broke away and they started to go to their respective corners, okay? And I thought, "This is fucking crazy." And then the one guy that I would see most frequently, well, he was riding a lovely bike around my neighborhood, and one day when I had gone for a walk, guess who I saw coming out of a house, a beautiful house that's bigger than my house, where the garage was open and there was a Beamer in that fricking garage, and it was this guy that was panhandling. And honestly, CeeLo, now I know it's an organization, like, it's an
Mhm.
organized thing.
Yeah.
So, I don't fall for that shit, but when I do see somebody that's truly homeless, yeah, I
But
there's
you
moments
don't
where I'm
know. You kinda don't know. That's, like, a
well
perfect example.
you don't know, but I mean, when you're downtown, you can tell that somebody is living on the street. Sometimes you can tell that, right?
I
You
think
see them
it's
sleeping on the grates, like, to keep warm in the winter,
yes, that's true,
right?
I'll give you
So
that. Okay.
for those guys, CeeLo, I know that it might be enabling to slip them 5, $10, whatever, $20, but their life is so fucking hard that I'm kind of like, "Dude,
Go
it."
get the vodka.
Yeah. Like, have that drink, and hopefully, for a moment, you feel better about the situation that you're in. Like, I get that it's enabling, but I don't know. For that, I kind of feel
I
I
mean,
don't know.
I think it's a total personal choice. I don't think, $5 here, $20 there is gonna make,
Yeah. Make or
you know
break
what I
anything,
mean?
but
It's not
still.
like,
Mhm.
when we were talking about, actually, to your point about the guy in your neighborhood,
Mhm.
there's a lady who's outside of our grocery store all the time,
Mhm.
and you pass her on the way in, and then a couple of times, like, inside the store, there's someone standing there saying, "Don't give her any money, she has a big house on Richmond Hill."
Oh, really?
And I'm like, "How do you even know that, for starters?" Anyway,
Yeah. Yeah.
and she's got the little sign, "I need to feed my kids."
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
mm,
That's flipping crazy.
whatever.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. But I
But
fully admit
on
it's
the
enabling behavior. Fully admit it.
Yes.
Mhm.
And on the intervention show, it's
Yeah.
like, I mean, what you're doing by $5 for someone who's just gonna go turn around and go get vodka for it or with it is kind of the same thing that their family members are doing. They're doing it, times 100, right? They're giving them a place to stay. They're not punishing them for stealing things like jewelry or household items to go sell to get money to buy drugs or alcohol.
Yeah.
And so I think that, you know, the fact that you recognize it's enabling and you're like, I'm okay with my $5 going to that, then I mean, that's your call, man. That's your call.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I hear you. But what would you do if it was your kid, one of your kids, that ended up having a really bad drug problem or drinking problem,
I can't
but
even
to the
imagine.
yeah, I know. Like, would you be able to kick them out of the house? Would you do you think you'd have the strength to do that, CeeLo?
Yes.
Really?
I
Good for
think
you.
because I mean, I would need a lot of therapy. I would
Oh,
need like one of
yeah.
those interventionists.
Yeah.
I think that what you have to try and put in front of you is what you're doing to help them get better, and how are you helping them get better? And that's your job as a parent, is to help them get better. Whatever that better is, like whether that's,
Mm,
going to rehab or anything, right? Your job is to help them get better at life. And so by enabling them, you're doing the opposite. And as much as it would be
yeah.
heartbreaking, watching them suffer would be worse, I think, for me. But I think like that's a big one, right? That's a really big one where
Yeah.
you've got to face that kind of situation.
Yeah.
I think the tougher ones are all the little ones that come along,
Like?
right? And how you might just enable bad behavior. I was
Yep.
thinking about Buddy when he was little. He would throw these fits, like crazy fits. I remember one time, I think my dad and his wife had come to see one of his hockey games. He was maybe 6, I don't know,
Mhm.
little,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And, he played the game, he came out of the game, said hi, and then they were like, "Let's go for lunch." I'm like, "Sounds like a great idea." We arrived at this restaurant, they went in to get a table, and he refused to get out of the car.
Why?
Refused. Didn't
At
wanna go.
6?
Didn't wanna go. And he's a big guy, right? Like,
Oh,
I
yeah.
he's hard to, like, physically, it's not like a baby
Yeah.
where I'm like, "Hey, you're coming with me."
Yeah.
He refused to get out of the car. And then I got him out of the car and closed the door, and he ran out to the street
Oh.
around the restaurant in the block, and I was chasing him, and my parents were sitting inside the restaurant going, "Girl, you are fucked with this one." You know what I mean?
Oh my god.
And I think, like, there's so many things like that that I think, "What did I do to enable this? Or what could I do to punish it?" And it's so hard when they're little,
Yeah.
especially with him. He's a
Mhm.
good boy now mostly.
Yeah.
To think about what that punishment might look like. And if you
Mm.
don't punish it, then you're just asking for it to continue to happen.
That's
Like,
right.
if there's no consequence, then you're enabling them,
That's right.
right? For
That's
you're
right.
supporting that bad behavior.
Yeah.
And so the difference between the 2 kids for me was I could say to Is, "If you're not gonna listen, there's no story at bedtime."
Mhm.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Okay,
She would
okay,
like
okay.
she loves her yeah, yeah,
Right?
she
She
used
would
to love
be
her
so
stories. Yeah,
upset.
yeah.
She
Mhm,
loved
mhm,
story at bedtime.
mhm.
But with him, the hard part was there was nothing of value. Like, it was so hard to find something of value that that then he and his 6, 8-year-old mind, whatever,
Mhm.
felt was a consequence. And so, I think that's what, because with Is, it was, really easy to find consequences, and
Mhm.
you know, she prides herself on being a good listener,
Mhm.
whereas he's like,
Yeah.
"Fuck you."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
"I don't care. You wanna
Yeah.
take all the stuff from my room? Here, take it. Take this, take that, take my shelf.
Is
Take
he
it."
ever Mel? But yeah, okay, go on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Right? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so it's hard to
Mhm.
in those situations and then, age appropriate wise, right? Like
Yeah,
what's appropriate for a 6-year-old or a 10-year-old
yeah, yeah.
or whatever. Now I just can shut down his phone and it works out great.
Is that a good punishment for him, his phone?
Yeah, when
Yeah,
he's, late
okay.
for school, we go through this whole, like the downtime on his phone starts earlier and earlier, and then
Yeah,
I
yeah,
shut off, his phone's off in the morning so he can't lollygag and
yeah,
on
yeah,
TikTok or whatever, and
yeah,
so,
yeah,
yeah, so then I'm like, 5 days of being on time and you can get rid of one restriction and 5
yeah,
more days and then get rid of another, so
yeah, yeah.
it's a good consequence, but for a long time, there was nothing I could find nothing of value to help drive a different behavior than what I was
Wow,
getting.
that's crazy.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that you say this because like, as a parent, I mean, that's, like, it's like you're parenting with consciousness, if that makes any sense to you. I don't know if, like you're aware of the fact that you have to teach these children, right?
Yeah.
And that you have to do the hard thing sometimes. And that is a very wise approach. I think a lot of people fall into the bucket of, listen, I'm going to do what's easier for my conscience. And I feel bad
Easier
because
for
my kid is sad because I have to do X, Y, and Z, and I don't wanna do it. But, that I think is a little bit more of a self-serving way of dealing with it, because you're actually appeasing your feelings, not
Yes.
dealing with teaching your child something, which is the
Yeah.
harder thing to do. Um,
Yeah.
but it's hard. Not a lot of people can think that way, see, though.
And I think,
Mhm.
like, not putting some consequences out there is like sweeping the dirt under the rug.
Well, yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, it's
oh, I do.
still there. It's still there.
Well, I do, because enabling essentially it's like you kind of protect that person. You're safeguarding that person against dealing with any of the consequences of their actions. And that does them no good. Like, they're not able to ever learn that their
Right.
behavior was
Mhm.
bad. And so that behavior continues, and then it escalates and it gets bigger and bigger of an issue.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it ends up damaging them in some way, right? Because
Yeah.
they're not able to function properly or have great
They
relationships, or, whatever the
yeah.
story may be. Yeah.
They feel like they can get away with
Yeah.
whatever, and
Yeah.
there is no consequence to them, and they don't need
That's
to
right.
think about the consequence. I think
Yeah.
there was a lot of time early on where I think both Mel and I realized that we're like, "Why are we walking on eggshells with him?" Right? And
Yeah.
it's so
Interesting.
easy to do because he challenged at so many points
Mhm.
that it was like, "You're fucking tired." Like,
Yeah.
you get home from work, you have, all of these
Yeah.
household responsibilities, you have all the work responsibilities, and you get home, and the last thing you wanna do is spend the evening standing your ground on something or, whatever that looks like. So it's so much easier to let it slide, especially a
Yeah.
few little things, you let it slide, you let it slide. And then all of
Yeah.
a sudden I'm like, "Ooh, walking on eggshells, don't wanna upset buddy because he's gonna,
Mhm.
go off the deep end or whatever." And I'm like, "Yeah, no, I can't do that." So that you kinda have to pivot every once in a while
Yeah.
and figure out what's gonna work, but
Yeah.
yeah.
That's interesting. That's, yeah, very interesting. So
Mhm.
I think there is, one of the things, like, so I know there's so many different scenarios that we talk about, in terms of enabling, from the parenting aspect of it to the homeless aspect of it to the,
Mhm.
substance abuse aspect of it. Like, there's just, and then of course there's, the narcissist as well.
Yeah.
And it's enabling that behavior. And there was this thing, one night I was watching, oh my gosh, I was having such trouble sleeping, and I put on the TV, and there was this religious show on, but it was, and I don't know what they're called, but it was, someone who was talking about the Quran, right?
Mhm.
And like, I don't know what they're called, an imam or something. I'm not quite sure. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like
I
the,
know what you're talking about, but I
yeah, yeah.
don't know.
Okay. So he was there talking about the Quran. And one of the things that he said, which has stuck with me, because this was like years ago, but this has stuck
Yeah.
with me for like ever. He said, evil triumphs when good people do nothing. And
So true, that's a good one.
right, right. And that has stuck with me because I have seen it so much in my life. Like I've seen it
Right,
when people are not held accountable for their actions. People are allowed to do really bad things, say really bad things. And the people around them are so enabling that the consequences never occur. And so as a result of that, it continues and continues and gets worse and it gets worse. So, it's I apply it to that too, which is, the only way that you can stop. What are you laughing at?
I'm
The
like
cat?
yeah,
Oh,
and then we end up with someone like Donald Trump.
well, I mean, yeah, I know. I know. I totally agree. But it's like and that is a prime example too, CeeLo, because he is allowed to get away with all of his awful behavior,
Mhm.
and he hasn't been held accountable. Now that he's going to be a president, he is going
Right,
to absolve himself from all of
yeah,
those issues that he had
slate
had.
it clean.
Yeah,
Yep,
yeah, and so he's never gonna have to be held account and so he's just gonna his ego's gonna get bigger, the abuse is gonna get worse, it's just gonna
yeah,
be, and it's hard, but part of that, I think, is hard for people to actually deal with because of the codependency issue. So that's kind of why I said we're gonna talk about enabling and codependency because typically the people who, end up with people who are like that have very strong codependency tendencies,
right,
right? Or people who support people like, let's say, Trump, for example, right?
right, right.
Yeah. So, I mean, there was this really powerful thing that I had posted on Facebook like years and years ago, and it was a picture of a matchbook and it had like matches in it. And then, so it would be like, let's say 1, 2, 3 matches. Then there
Mhm,
was a smaller match that was a little bit lower down, and then another set of 2 matches like beside it that
right,
were full. The first three had been burned. Those matches had been burned and they were on fire.
yeah,
And this smaller match that was lower wasn't high enough to reach those
the flame.
flames.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
So it was safe. And as a result of it being safe, even though it was smaller, and it didn't have as much power, it stopped the other full-size matches from catching on fire, and so that was the whole thing of breaking the cycle.
Right,
When you
right.
enable bad behavior, you allow that bad behavior to burn through absolutely everything. When you stand up to that bad behavior, you are treated like shit, you're shunned, you're discarded, you're, like all of those really shitty things because you're standing up to that bad behavior and not enabling it. So
Right.
you become really small and you take the brunt of the consequences of speaking the truth. But then generationally, you stop that generational
Mm.
trauma from continuing and bad behavior from continuing. So I thought that that was really, really powerful, of an example of, how enabling continues certain behaviors throughout generations and how difficult to stop it. But like you said about being a parent, Silo, it's like it's a conscious decision that you have to make that says, I'm either going to make a difference or I'm not going to make a difference. And I'm going to take the easier road because selfishly, it's easier for me.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and it's hard, right? Like,
Yeah.
and no matter how you slice it with kids,
Hmm.
if they're struggling or in pain or
Hmm.
whatever, it
Hmm.
fucking sucks. It
Yeah.
sucks so much, but
I know.
I think it's short-sighted to not have some consequences because you end up making a bigger problem for yourself down the road, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But I think it's interesting, like, the part that you said about, being the little match and standing up to the behavior and really being,
Mhm.
that, um I was gonna say advocate for change or pushing back, and
Mhm.
then you said, "And then you're shunned, and then
Yeah,
nobody's talking to you," and
that's right.
so
Yep.
I feel like in that scenario where it's almost like a group or a full family,
Mhm.
unless everybody sees what you see
They
or
can't.
feels what you feel,
Yeah.
then that's going to be their reaction, right? Because
Of
everything
course.
has happened that way for so long.
That's what they're used to. That's what
Yeah,
they're used to, and that's where that concept of that smaller match comes in, which is, by you being that person that says, I'm not taking this
yeah,
anymore,"
yeah.
you become I don't wanna say the words broken or because, for a period of time, you are broken, and then once you heal from that, you become the strongest person you've ever become in your life, but you take a lot of hits and it pushes you down and pushes you down and pushes you down. But at the end of the day, it's worth it.
It's
You
worth
know what I
it.
mean? Like at the end
100%,
of the day,
yeah,
yeah. And same with even if we apply that to your parenting, at the end of the day, that moment of you having to make those hard decisions of no, I'm not going to give in.
right,
I am going to, as tired as I am, I'm going to make that decision to do the right thing. At the end of the day, Silo, a year down from the road, whatever it's going to be, you're going to see the fact that because they had to deal with those consequences, there was a lesson that was learned, and you can see how the behavior changes. You can see how
yeah.
they're growing into, you know, contributing adults,
Yeah,
right?
hopefully one day,
Yeah,
that's the plan.
yeah,
I have my
yeah,
fingers crossed for that.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
So, yeah.
yeah. No, I think I lost my
Mhm.
train of thought. I've been
Did you
having
lose it?
menopause brain a lot
Are you?
lately.
That's okay.
I
That's okay.
was in,
I
like,
get it.
2 meetings today where I was like, "And then, um, wait a
Well,
second, I forget the word."
I was having a conversation over dinner one night with Dave, and we were talking about the family picnic, your family picnic that we had gone to.
Yes.
And he was, I can't remember exactly what Dave was saying, but I was like, "Oh yeah, Karen's sister, blah blah blah," and then Karen's older sister. Oh my god, what the? Her name totally blanked. I could not remember your older sister, and I'm like, "How could I not?" And then it came to me, and I was like, "Oh my god!" Like there's moments like that where I say, "How could I forget these things?" And should I be concerned? Like,
Mhm.
should I be
Yes,
concerned that I'm forgetting them?
absolutely.
Fuck.
Well, I can remember my gram always, and now my
Yeah.
parents, same thing, right? They run through the list of names and pets' names before they
Yeah.
actually get
Oh,
your
yeah.
name.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Oh, for I cannot tell you how many times my mom called her granddaughter my dog's name. I In fact, there were occasions where she would say to her, "Come here, puppy. I mean"
That's kind of funny.
Yeah, 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 for sure, for sure. Okay, so when we talk about people who enable,
Yeah,
the majority, a lot of times it is because that person is codependent. So let's kind of give a little bit of an example of what, or a little definition, I guess, of what codependency is, right? So
okay.
somebody who is codependent, right?
Yeah,
Um, i- i- it's characterized, I guess, if you will, by poor self esteem, right?
okay.
And an unhealthy reliance on others. So
Right. I
what
get my value from someone else as
correct. I
opposed
get
to
my
getting my
value
value
from
from myself.
someone
Okay.
else. Yeah. Look, my clock is ringing.
Oh, what a shocker. What a shocker.
I know. I had to come downstairs because Dave was in the office today. So you're just going to have to deal with it and love it as
Fine.
much as I do.
I'm loving it.
Yeah.
TikTok.
So basically, if you have codependent tendencies, you'll probably find yourself doing everything that you can to please another person.
Right.
Right? And because of that, there's often a tendency for narcissists, like I mentioned before, to be attracted to these codependent people because that's what they do is they
Easy
constantly
mark.
please, yeah, they please the
Yeah.
other person, and so that's a feed for them for sure. Um there's like three significant themes that tend to be present with individuals who are codependent, and one of them is that they have a loss of sense of self. Usually that's coming from not wanting to face criticism, right? So meaning that like you're
Mm.
constantly neglecting like your own needs because you're afraid of either abandonment or being put down, and that actually all stems from your childhood. So
Yeah.
every single person who is codependent you can trace back to trauma issues from their childhood, usually within their upbringing, right?
Yeah.
So I find that very interesting. So then there's also a pattern of imbalance, either usually socially, occupationally, or in emotional aspects of life. So a lot of times, if you're with somebody who is in a much higher position, has much more money, that might be part of the balance.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Um, so, problems attributed to parental abandonment or parental control in childhood. So that's kind of where it comes,
Mm.
from the upbringing part. So you can always
Yeah.
kind of like trace it back. So, like, those are like the three significant themes that tend to be present in folks that are, codependent. And it's funny, CeeLo, because part of you, I mean, you know that I've been through therapy forever now at this point. It's been many years. And I've learned so much from that, but I've also learned that I am also codependent. Like I have codependent tendencies, which
Right.
I'm trying to break. And boy, is that fucking hard. Is
Yeah,
that
I
ever
have no
hard?
doubt because it's your MO, right? If it's been your MO for so
Right.
long,
Yeah.
we aren't spraying chickens anymore, so we've had the
No,
same MO, and maybe
no.
it shifted or changed or
Yeah.
evolved a little bit, whatever, but
Yeah.
I think that when you get used to kinda operating in a certain way or thinking in a certain way, it would be really hard
Yeah.
to change it, but I do find myself as I've gotten older having
Mhm.
more and more kind of those aha moments
Yeah.
where you realize what you're doing. I'm like, "Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Wait a minute here.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
am hip to what's going on."
Yeah.
And so it's almost like a little bit of a wake up call.
Yeah.
The aha
Yeah.
moment thing was from Oprah, but
That's right,
yeah.
because we are Oprah and Gail in
Yeah, that's
disguise.
right.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah.
right.
So
Total.
I actually have a quiz for you because
Oh my.
I like my quizzes.
I don't do well on tests, Bo.
No, 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 no.
I'm
It's not
scared.
it's not it's not a quiz, but I mean, kind of it is, but it's like a checklist, if you will, okay?
Okay.
And this is kind of, a way, like, and it's not an official one, but it may give you some insight into whether or not you could potentially be codependent, right?
Okay. Give
And
it to me.
and yeah, codependency, I mean, it's not a good thing to have, because you really do lose yourself, a lot of the times. And it causes a lot of issues, um, feeling like you can't do things on your own, like
Yeah.
you can't be an independent person. So it's not a great thing. So it might be good to kind of get some help and see if you can kind of overcome that a little bit. Easier
Yeah.
said than done, but okay. So here are some of the things. So you're going to tell me whether or not you have this. Okay.
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 Hit me.
Um, wanting to rescue other people.
Yes, I have that.
Okay. Me too.
Yeah.
Doing more than you can handle for others. You have that. Don't even think about it. You have it. You
Why
have
could
it.
it be like that?
Because it's the fucking truth.
Mhm.
You're always doing for everybody. And may I also say that when you and I lived together, do you remember do
I
you
was an
remember
enabler.
100 fucking percent. We'd be like lying there because we had been like out drinking the night before. We'd be like comatose on the sofa watching some stupid like Hallmark movie. And then we'd be hungry and it'd be like, I don't feel like getting up to make anything. I don't feel like it. Oh my God, maybe we should go get something. Oh, I don't feel like getting off the couch. You go get that something. And you'd be like, okay, I'll go get it for us. And you would go out and you would get it and you'd come back. That was totally fucking you. Totally.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
And I still do that now.
Yeah, you
We'll be
do.
sitting here watching a
You do.
show, and Mel will
Yeah.
be like, "Do we
I
have any
know.
chips?"
I know.
And I'm like, "No, we don't have any chips." "Oh, okay. Well, I really wanted chips. Could really you I've had a bad I I'll
Yeah.
go. I'll just go.
You
What
go
kind
to
of
the
chips do
store.
you want?"
Yeah,
I go to the
yeah, that's
store.
so funny, Sue. Yeah, honestly, you have yeah, it's fun. Now listen, I mean, it's a great trait.
I feel like at the yep.
You benefit from it.
From the person I'm enabling.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But that's so funny. Okay, so
Okay.
you definitely have that. Okay, needing recognition.
No.
Yeah, me neither. Fearing abandonment.
No.
Okay, I have this one. I definitely have this one. Placing responsibility for others' actions on yourself. So 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 as an example, somebody is
No.
let's say you come home
Yes.
and there's a lot of chaos going on and the
Yes.
kids are going crazy and whatever, and then Mel starts to like have a shit.
Freak out.
She's
Yeah.
like, yeah, she's freaking out. She's like, whatever.
Yeah.
And you start putting that responsibility on yourself to make sure that Mel calms down by then having to, fix whatever the kids are doing that's causing the issue. That might be an example, right? Like you're placing the
What was the
responsibility
oh,
of
the
Mel's feelings
responsibility of
on you to fix. Whereas it should be Mel that's sitting
Oh,
there saying, wait a second, I need
shit.
everybody to shut up because I'm having a really bad day. I'm going to excuse myself for a sec. You know what I mean? To like de-stress instead of blowing up on people. Does that make any sense? So it says
It
placing responsibility for others' actions on yourself was the thing.
Are we gonna get to the end of this and I'm gonna need therapy? Like, talk to me
Oh yeah,
now,
you
okay?
need therapy. Is this a
Um,
yes?
when you originally asked the question, I'm like, "No." But when you put it like that, I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I
Yeah,
do that for
you
sure."
do that for sure.
I
Yeah, yeah,
am like the typical middle child,
yeah.
right? I
Yep.
I like to come in and make sure that especially my loved ones, right? Like,
Mhm.
not very many other like, when it's high value, I would say, my loved ones, I definitely would do that. Or I find more so now instead of taking it on myself in that
Mhm.
scenario you gave, I will go
Mhm.
over to Mel and I'll say, "Sounds like you're having a really shitty day.
Yeah.
Why don't you take a minute?" And,
Yeah.
like, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Okay. But you do have it.
I
Um,
mhm.
depending on a relationship to an excessive degree.
No.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree that you don't have that, but I have had that. I have had that. So,
Yes.
yeah, yeah. Um,
Absolutely. Yeah.
shut the
No,
fuck
I
up.
would no. Look, you just busted my balls over the
I know.
last
So
one.
what give are you busting mine now that that is
No,
what I
I'm
have?
totally not because I was thinking
Sure.
about it, like, I feel when I referenced earlier on in our chat, I was talking about those early relationships, kind of the
Yes,
teenage years and that
that's right.
typical kind of you don't have a lot of
That's right.
self-esteem,
That's
codependency.
right.
That's how I saw that. I
That's right.
think back in the day,
Yeah.
maybe, but,
Yeah.
not now.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it's funny because prior to my therapy,
Yeah.
I found that I did that a lot. Like there were certain people that were in my life that I felt I was so dependent on. So,
Yes.
you know,
Yeah.
um, and once I went through therapy and I started to realize just a fucking second, I can do this
Yeah.
by myself. I
Yeah.
can handle this. I can make these decisions. I don't
Yeah.
have to. So
Yep.
like you kind of go through all of that. And now that has changed. I find that sometimes I find that I fall back a little bit into feeling dependent. And then when I catch that, I correct it. But it was
Do you
definitely something that was on the
do
yeah.
you find on that one, now I'm curious, that you over rotate? Right, so
Some
that you're mhm.
sometimes.
Little
Yeah.
bit?
Yeah.
Mhm,
So
okay.
is that what you're trying to say to me?
No,
You fucking fuck. No, it's funny
no,
that you
I
say
think, like, you realize this is a scenario, this is what's happening, this is where I would normally tend to go here,
yeah,
and instead of not going there and kinda hitting the middle,
yeah,
you purposefully over rotate. Like, I think
100%.
it makes sense, yeah,
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 100%, and I know that I do that a lot with Dave sometimes, you know what I
yeah,
mean? Where it's
yeah.
like, yeah, it's
I know
kind
he
of
told
like
me, he told me.
shut the fuck up. He probably did, but he tells me too, so that's okay, we're okay.
Yeah,
But yeah, like I do find that, as I try to learn my happy medium,
yeah,
um, you know, it is when you have been so dependent or codependent, if you will, for so long, and then you're trying to break out of that, and you begin to realize, just a second, I have some power, I have some autonomy, I have the ability to make these
right,
decisions.
right.
I can survive by myself. Like once you
Yeah,
actually start, realizing that
exercising it,
yeah, it's
right?
a
Like, you have to
newfound
do it.
yeah,
Yeah,
a newfound power, similar to how when
yeah,
you first came out and you were
yeah,
like, went to from 0 to 100, like, just you were
Let's
trying to
go.
yeah, you were trying to figure your
Yeah.
shit out. I'm trying to figure my shit out, right? So,
We're all just mashed up in here trying to figure shit out.
agreed,
Yeah.
agreed.
Okay.
Feeling hurt when you aren't recognized.
No,
Okay, it depends. I think it depends. It depends on how much effort I've put into whatever the situation is,
I
right?
will like,
But
I
yeah.
did a little bit of a mini closet fixer-upper,
Yeah.
and it was a lot of work. Like, I did
Yeah.
a little bit of painting, I did
Yeah.
this, I did that, I organized all this stuff,
Yeah.
and literally weeks had gone by, and wifey says absolutely fucking nothing to me about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So the other and I honestly, I hadn't even thought about it or noticed, and then
Mhm.
the other night, I was in there and I opened up that closet door,
Mhm.
and she's standing in there next to me, and I went and put something away,
Mhm.
and then I'm like, "Hey, hey, hey,
Yeah.
you never said anything about how awesome this is."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
she's like, "Oh my god, that's awesome. Thanks so much for doing it." I'm like, "Yeah, that's right."
Well,
But
you
I
know what?
don't think, like, I don't live or die on it, you know what I
No,
mean?
I don't live or die in it either, so I'm gonna say that that's probably a no for both of us.
Right.
Controlling others? No for you, I don't think.
Do I wanna control others?
Like, trying to control others.
No.
Yeah, I'm gonna say no for you for that one for
Yeah.
sure.
Okay.
Lacking
Wait.
trust?
Um, no.
No?
I
That's
feel I'm
huge for me.
pretty
Mhm.
giving with trust.
Yep. Yep,
I
you
think
are.
once you break it,
Yeah.
then it would be it's harder for me to like, to
Yeah.
work with you to get that back kinda
Me
thing.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
me too. But I do have trust issues, so it's like it's, I don't I'm always like, on edge.
Right.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. Trouble identifying feelings.
No.
Okay. Having difficulty with communication. Definitely no for you. You're a great communicator.
Yeah.
See? Look what I'm doing. I'm
What?
controlling and I'm putting
Yes,
your
you're
feelings
over
into
rotating your
like, right?
control
Look what I
stick.
just
You're answering
fucking
the questions for me.
Oh my god. CeeLo. I swear to God, I should be a case study. Some psychiatrist should listen to this episode and do a
Yes.
case study. Yeah, okay, go on. So you answer the question.
Diagnose you. Okay.
Yeah,
So, controlling? No.
no. Lacking trust, no. Trouble
No.
identifying feelings, you said no. Having
No.
difficulty with communication?
No.
Right. Okay,
I
experience
sometimes it takes me a minute
no, no, no. Yeah, but I think you're a
to think
fantastic
about it,
communicator.
but
Yeah,
yeah.
no. Experiencing challenges dealing with change.
No, not at
Yeah,
all.
agree with you on that one.
Love it.
Practicing dishonesty.
Practicing dishonesty?
Yeah, that is
No,
not you. Yeah,
no,
that's not you. Feeling indecision.
no.
Fuck balls, this is one a big one for me. I can sometimes I struggle with making decision. It's terrible. It's awful.
Uh-huh.
Okay,
I know
feeling
someone in my house like that a little bit.
right? Okay. Feeling a pervasive pattern of anger.
Should I do the broccoli or the green beans?
Yeah, I
I'm
know.
like, I don't know, both are good. I would go with green beans. Okay.
Yeah, but then it's
But if I
like,
did the
but
broccoli, I could do the
yeah,
cauliflower, and I'm like, "Oh my god, just do the green beans." Green
yeah.
beans.
Yeah, that is a really strong codependent characteristic where they feel that they're gonna disappoint somebody else if they don't make the right choice, and then it just it paralyzes them, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
But I
so
also think there's a little bit of, I'm doing this big thing, I'm going through all this effort, and there's a sense of perfectionism around it,
sure.
like everything needs to be perfect,
Right,
and if I deliver this thing perfectly,
right.
everyone is going to be like, "Oh my god, that is perfecto." And so
Got
that
it.
I think there's a few things wrapped up in that.
Yeah, I think so
Yeah.
too, for sure. I mean,
Mhm.
these are just general questions. It's not a
General.
diagnosis, right? Yeah, yeah. So feeling a
Mhm.
pervasive pattern of
Okay.
anger?
What? No.
Yeah, you're not an angry person, like,
No.
ever. So, CeeLo, so that's the end of them. So I'm gonna say, like, you've only got, like, 1, 2, 3, 4 out of the list of whatever that I read. I
Okay.
think that you may have some small little traits, but nothing that would really classify you, I don't think, as a codependent. If we were looking at this as being a true, yeah.
Okay, good.
I, on the other hand, need more therapy.
You have a
So,
couple more. Hey,
I
the world doesn't revolve unless we're all a little bit different.
I agree. I agree. And you know what? You still love me the way that I am, so I'll
I
take that,
do.
and that's okay. Yeah.
I do. Do you need me
Yeah.
to tell you that? I love you. I love you the way
No.
you are.
Thanks, CeeLo.
I don't know what I'd do without you.
I'm complete now. My codependency and my dependency on you to get me Burger King is complete
Those
now.
were good questions. I like that. Made you think. All of a sudden, you're on mute, though, and I can't hear you anymore.
I'm sorry, sorry. I must have hit that by accident. Sorry about that.
I'm like, "Your lips are moving."
I said that there's your lesson on enabling and codependency for today.
I appreciate that. That was
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, a little
That
bit
was
more
really good.
eye-opening. All
Yeah.
right, CeeLo. Until next time, honey.
Yeah, we'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Thanks for taking a seat at the table today. We love our dinner guests.
Don't forget to subscribe and follow The Dinner Agenda on the podcast platform you use so that you don't miss any new episodes. You can also follow us on Instagram and Facebook at The Dinner Agenda.
We look forward to hearing your comments, questions, and even ideas you may have on future episodes.
Thanks for taking this journey with us.